Get this party started.
I'd like to call to order the Parks Board meeting for Monday, May the 23rd. Mr. Brown, will you lead the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bruce, do we have any citizens' comments?
No, sir, we do not.
Where did Mr. Bruce go? There he is. Thank you, friend. If you've had a chance to look over the minutes from last, I would accept a motion to approve. That'd be Mr. Pike, second, Mr. Head. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, thank you. Okay, under park project updates, Mr. Gilly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are fully functional with the security camera project in the soccer complex. That's pretty nice to be able to access that from anywhere. We can look on our phone and see what's going on in the soccer parking lots and at the concession stands. So that's good. I think, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we now have 20. Is that right?
Pretty close to it.
Close to 20 cameras in Drakes Creek Park alone. We're going to keep on moving, try till we can get them everywhere. Try to help with safety and security for everybody. Memorial Park fountain renovation. I want to thank the Rotary Club and our maintenance staff for heading that up. I don't know if you've driven by it. Looks really, really nice. It really matches kind of with the first responder memorial over there now. It looks real good at night too. It's almost done. We got a couple little small things to go with that. Hockey project is still got a couple little things left, but no one would ever know it. We have a big tournament coming in, teams from all over the country this weekend out there, and that's my park project update, sir.
Questions? Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Oh, boy. Parks naming, Beatty property. The staff and friends of Indian Lake Peninsula. Who's speaking to that?
I can speak to that.
Can I speak to it before?
You can if you want to.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
The last time we named a park, it went through some diligence, but I've read what these people have done, and they have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's and done all the requirements of naming this thing. So I'm hoping that we can keep this the way it is. Now, you go right ahead, Mr. Gilly.
Sure. Just for everybody's information, you all will recall a subcommittee of combination of Friends of Indian Lake, Parks Board, Aldermen, and city staff was put together more than 2 years ago now. One of the tasks that we undertook was a public survey talking about the name of the Beatty property. Those results came back, and this subcommittee came up with a recommendation of Heritage Park for our newest facility name for a variety of reasons. To me, I'm not going to speak for or against anything, but to me, Heritage Park provides a lot of opportunity to further recognize different types of groups of people and different things and kind of celebrate the heritage of our community. We don't have another Heritage Park. We have volunteer, we have veterans, we have Drakes Creek, we have Memorial, but we do not have anything like a Heritage Park.
Volunteer is Arrowhead, right?
Volunteer Park at Arrowhead, yes,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Yes, sir. Your task would be to make, if you so choose, to make a recommendation to the facilities naming committee that they go ahead and forward this request on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I believe that's the way the thing functions now at this point.
Okay, yeah, and like I said, if you looked at page 5, they've done all the things that need to be done, and I don't have a vote on it, but I think Heritage is a wonderful name. So I will let y'all look that over a minute. Have any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve. That would be, wow, Mr. Bowler down there. Mr. Bowler second. Mr. Perry, any more discussion?
The first or second?
That was a,
Number one.
Mr. Bowler was one, I tell you. Mr. Perry will say, good to see you down there, Mr. Bowler. You need to be down here kicking my shin. Tell me. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, and it passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Gilly. Pony Company at Party to Saunders Ferry Park. Ashley.
I believe she's gonna be on the Zoom here.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Looks like a subdivision.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, we just can't see you yet. You look like a subdivision.
I'm driving home from work with a 3-year-old, so
All right, you might speak up just a little bit. I'm old, so I don't hear well.
can you hear me?
I can, ma'am. Go right ahead and state your case.
For my daughter's party, there's a pony rental, a uniform rental, and she said she's done parks before, and she puts down a mat, and it doesn't damage the grass at all, and she cleans up after herself completely. It's just a attraction for the kids, but it's less damage than a bounce house or any stakes around it. She puts it down, she cleans it up, and it's no damage to the grass or anything. And she says she's done Saunders Ferry Park before.
Okay, anybody have any questions for her? Because I'm old again.
If this was done before in Sanders Ferry Park, it was before my staff's purview. Anytime we have a horse or a beast of burden by city ordinance in the park, we have to have approval of the Parks Board. I don't have a problem. That's the location. She's talking about Shelter 4 at Sanders Ferry Park, down at the bottom of the park there towards the water. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I would ask that if you all approve this, that you include that if any damages to the grounds, these folks be responsible for repairing it. I think our maintenance staff would appreciate that also.
So, I'm sorry if can you restate exactly what you're asking of us?
She's asking to bring in a unicorn to a birthday party at Shelter 4 at Sanders Ferry Park.
Well, I want to see that.
And just so you know, I've been in touch with Ashley. She's going to provide, the company will send us the COI, similar to any other, like if it was going to be a bounce house, anything like that. The biggest thing was because this did involve a live animal, it had to be approved by the Parks Board per our ordinance.
No questions? I will entertain a motion with the the extra information.
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve with an addition that that there needs to be adequate cleanup after the
Good job by him. Listen to
party
that.
is over.
It's good for roses. I've got a first, Mr. Golden, second, Mr. Perry. Any more discussion on that?
Number two.
It's good for the roses. It really is. It's good for the roses. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you. Leadership Academy Camp, Laura Johnson. It's a live person. Come right on up here. Yes, ma'am. Right over to the thing and push the little button and you just talk away.
Hello, and thank you, Director and the board and the staff for having me here. Leadership Academy is proposing a day camp program at Sanders Ferry Park. It's a nature connection day camp called Camp Twigs. At Leadership Academy, we believe that when children connect with nature, it increases their confidence and creativity, social intelligence, and grit. And we want to offer a camp program here in Hendersonville to serve the families of this community so they have a safe place to have their children during the summer, as well as have the children connect with the parks and grow a love and affinity for the parks and future stewardship and support for the parks. We're proposing to open this summer with 2 weeks of camp. Those 2 weeks are June 27th through July 1st and July 11th through the 15th, serving children ages 5 through 12 at the Sanders Ferry Park. I'm open to your questions. I have a lot more information I can share, but I think that you have a document in front of you with information as well, so I'm open to your questions.
It says the program type is music. What does that mean?
Oh, I think it shouldn't say music. It should
I
say,
caught you, didn't I?
yeah, it should say Nature Day Camp.
Good enough, gotcha.
Maybe I checked the wrong box.
It's okay, I'll do it all the time, don't worry.
Thank you.
Give me a minute to look at it. Ms. Pike?
This question's probably for you, and it could be answered by Andy or anybody down there. Do you have to have a license? Do they have to have a license to have a camp running with kids? Or do we have that, or is that required?
Well, currently in the state of Tennessee, I have a business license. I currently run day camp programs in Nashville, permitted through Metro Nashville Parks. I've been operating there for 9 years. So my camps currently, I have a business license, of course, with the state of Tennessee. My business Leadership Academy LLC is registered with the state of Tennessee. I have general liability insurance. I also carry camper accident insurance. And then I have a health permit, which is granted through the state of Tennessee, and that's per location. So I would be applying for a health permit from the state of Tennessee for that location specifically. And the things that the state of Tennessee looks at for the health permit is the restrooms and running water. And if I was an overnight camp, they'd look at sleeping facilities as well, but there's no overnight camp. So they would just be looking at the restrooms at that facility. In addition to that, I follow the best practices of the American Camp Association. They have accreditation standards. There's over 290 standards that are required to be an accredited camp. This camp, however, would not be considered accredited until I went through that process, which is something that we would do in the future if we looked at continuing this program, but it is the best practices that I follow in my day-to-day operations for summer camp.
Ma'am, part of those 290 things you have to do is background check your employees.
That's correct. Every employee has an interview, an application, an interview, 3 reference checks, and a background check, including the National Sex Offender Registry.
Have we done the appropriate space? Have we got room enough? I mean,
So we have met with the Leadership Academy 2 different times, once amongst our staff and once with our staff, her staff, and the mayor. I think we were all in agreement that this camp probably provides something that we do not currently provide as a Parks Department.
also too.
Maybe we don't even provide it as a city at this point. You can answer that better than me. We know that there are waiting lists that are really long at other summer camps. At this point, with this 2 week, we're basically just going by the book here. She's renting shelters and paying the necessary fees that are by the book in the application. And then from there, if there needs to be some other longer term agreement that would be voted on by this board, if it's a success and it needs to be approved by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for her to give back things to the city or things like that, we would go from there. But to get her up and running, we felt like the best thing to do would be to just go straight up by the book. Here's the fees, here's what it is. Parks Board approves it, and we move forward.
That's
And
right.
my staff can tell me if I'm saying anything out of school there.
Yeah, that's correct. The fees will be $450 to the city plus $5 camper fee per camper for each week-long camp. And the mayor asked that we regroup back in August following the summer to talk about future long-term camp. I think we're a little late in the stage to do her full-on camp. I think she does about a 7 or 8 week camp. 9 week camp each summer. We're a little late in the stage for that, so this would be just kind of a 2 week trial run, and then in August regroup and talk about it like a long-term deal.
Yeah, that's we're piloting the program essentially this summer. Typically, I'll start planning summer 2023 in June, July, and August, and hopefully launching registration in October time. So we'll regroup in August, and so we're gonna try it out this summer.
Yes, sir.
And just Metro's the only other place that you do this at? You do it in any other counties, any other cities around? Or?
Just currently in Nashville, Tennessee with Metro Parks. I do lease a facility that's a non-Metro facility also in Nashville. It's a New Leaf preschool campus.
Okay. And it also says on here that you're probably going to help with the cleanup of the area, bring your trash in, bring it out, and help up with the bathrooms as well.
Yeah, day to day,
That's
we
awesome.
teach the children leave no trace ethics, which means one of the principles of leave no trace is pack in, pack out. So children do bring a sack lunch every day, and as well as the staff do, but everyone packs their lunch trash back in their lunchbox and sends it home. It also helps parents see what their kids eat and what they didn't eat, and it actually makes the kids eat their lunch. So they will take their trash home, and then any trash that's produced from any craft project or anything, we'll bag that separately and bring that home as well. We won't put any trash into the public trash cans. And then our staff will do light custodial duty in the bathrooms. We typically do that in the mornings before the campers are in there, just pending whatever happened in the bathrooms. That since we were in there last, we can get it cleaned up and start fresh for the day.
Thank you.
I've operated at public parks for the last 9 years, so we really are focused on operating alongside the public, not blocking any public use or any amenities unless we have something specific reserved, like a pavilion. And I kind of know what happens at parks sometimes after dark. So, like with trash being around and litter, we pick up all the litter that we find that's around the park as well. The kids are pretty enthusiastic about it.
Sounds to me like you've got more than enough experience doing this, and Mr. Gilly's right. This seems to be something that might might grow bigger than you think it might. So I think it's a great idea personally. But any more questions? Yes, Mr. Cole.
Yeah, in the packet, you mentioned scholarships for low-income families. Can you talk more to that?
Yeah, we currently are offering scholarships to our programs that we offer in Nashville. We have two types of scholarships. We have an income-based scholarship that we offer, and then we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarship that we offer. It's a very simple scholarship process. They fill out an application online, and they can indicate if they are receiving free and reduced lunch at school, and if so, they automatically are given the scholarship for an income reduced, or they can choose one of our diversity, equity, and inclusion questions. And it's just basically ticking off one of those boxes. And the participant family does have to pay $50, and the rest of it's covered by scholarship. Currently, those scholarships are funded by Leadership Academy.
Give me 1 second. Are we okay? Good, okay. All righty, if you've, any more questions? If there's no more questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Bennett, second. Mr. Head. Ms. Hellman, I'm gonna get you next time, I promise, I promise. Any more, discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Did a
you very
wonderful
much.
job. Thank you. Gonna have all them little ones crawling all over the place. Oh, that's good. Adult Hockey League, Mr. Gilliam. Or Gillum, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. State your name and go at it.
Yes, hi, my name is Randy Hoffman, here representing Hendersonville Inline Hockey Association. Mr. Gilliam couldn't be here tonight for summer vacation. We've come to you tonight to ask for approval of adding an adult league to our system. It's something that we've had a growing demand for several years, but when we only had the one rink, we really couldn't fulfill that demand. With the new facilities that you all have been very helpful and supportive of, and we appreciate, we feel like it is time to add an adult league, which will help with the revenue for the youth league, but also really continue to make a mark for Hendersonville being the only facility of its kind in the Southeast. And I'm here to answer any questions about it if you have any.
I didn't tell my son that this was on the agenda, but I can tell when I tell him, he's gonna be jumping up and down.
Yes, sir. Many will. What's really interesting is
It is, yeah.
I've been on the board for almost 11 years. It's hard to believe. And quite honestly, with the help of these gentlemen at this end, myself and some of the other legacy guys looked at this as a legacy for our children that grew up in the league to have a place to come home and play. And we're seeing that now where we have kids that played in our league as youth coming back and of course, there's not an adult league for them to play in, but they've brought their kids out so they're helping coach and they're involved in our league. And we're really excited about this because having the adults bring their kids with them to watch play will lead them to be interested in hockey, hopefully as well.
That being said, and because I'm lazy and I don't look it up, what do you expect? How many folks you got any idea?
Well, actually, we don't. We have a lot of interest, and so what we wanted to do, we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. So, of course, we need your approval first. But we have been kind of setting in motion a small plan to have a summer league this summer, a very short league, and limit the number of participants so that we can kind of control it, get an idea of what kind of demand we do have heading into the fall. Of course, our youth league will always take precedent, and so we want to make sure that we're already seeing our numbers increase again because of the new facilities, and we're very appreciative of it. But we'll have a better idea of scheduling and those kind of things as we go through at least a shortened season with a limited amount of capacity.
Learning experience.
Yes, sir.
I got you. Any questions? Yes.
Randy,
Yes, sir.
so I take that you're working hand in hand with the youth leagues in your scheduling, or you will be working with that?
Yes, sir. As I said, well, first of all, our season just ended. Our spring season just ended this past weekend, and so that was another reason. So we're going to try to have an adult league this summer when we don't traditionally have a season, so we can kind of work out some kinks again, see what kind of demand we have. Go through the process before we start our fall season. Now, it is our hope eventually to possibly add another season in our youth group. But again, this is all kind of new to us with the new facilities. And there's a huge difference, as you all know, having two rinks, just like having two fields in scheduling, we can expand. We can expand how many games are played, and so those are the things that we're trying to get our arms around. But the youth will take precedence. So when the youth aren't playing or practicing, that's when we'll provide slots for the adults.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve. Mr. Golden, second. Ms. Hellman. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? Boy, my son's gonna be happy. Woo.
Thank you,
Boy,
and thank you all.
Good enough. Thank you, brother. Civitan Girls Tackle Football Program.
Mr. Whitaker is on the way, so we probably can go ahead to the next item and come back to
I'll
him.
put that down at the bottom.
Well,
Moving on.
he can wait.
Oh, there you go. Perfect timing.
Come on up, Mr.
You're gonna
Whitaker.
wait. Come on in.
All right, state your name and tell us why you're late. No, I'm kidding about that.
Brian Whitaker, I'm president of Civitan.
Oh, give me your
Traffic from Nashville is horrible, if anybody wants to know.
none of your business should have been what you said.
No, locally, no.
Say none of your business. Okay. State your case there, brother. What you want to do?
So basically, the the Civitan has applied to be able to add another sport for tackle football for young ladies. We have put out a post on Facebook that said, we're looking into it. It's not approved. We're looking into it. Would there be interest? We have about 30 young ladies that are interested currently.
Before he mentions that ladies thing, I had a neighbor that played, and she could kick my butt any other time of the day. So I appreciate you using the word ladies, but boy, they're tough, I can tell you that. All righty, questions?
So will this run concurrently with their tackle football already, or no?
That is correct. It'll run concurrent with the boys tackle football. It'll also run under the same league as tackle football for young men. It will be playing the same communities that are part of that league also.
Yes, sir.
Are there other leagues set up in counties and cities around us, girls tackle football
Yes,
already?
yes.
Good.
Oh, good. So you're looking at maybe playing everywhere, huh? Outstanding.
Correct.
And possible flag football down the road for girls?
We are looking into that also.
Okay.
Before we do anything, we of course have to come back to this board and ask for permission to have that one also.
Awesome. Thank you.
I've quit kickball, so I'm not.
So I know that young girls can currently play in the tackle football in the only league that's currently there. Will girls then be able to choose which league they would like to play in, or no?
Correct. If we have a young lady that still would like to play tackle football with a young man, we will not stop them.
Cool.
And that's their problem, the guy's problem, probably. She's gonna hurt somebody. All right, any more questions? If everything's good, I'll accept a motion to approve. Mr. Perry first, Mr. Pike is second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, sir. You did well, except for being late.
Thank you.
All right. Again, none of your business is what you should say.
What'd you do?
All right, full court rhythm, Chick-fil-A sponsorship. Josh. There you go. State your name and state your case.
I'll tell you afterwards. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Parks Board and staff for your time. My name is Josh Carmen with Full Count Rhythm Baseball. And I'm here tonight to ask for permission for some signage at Drakes Creek Field 3 for this summer for our college summer team that comes in town next Sunday night. And specifically with Chick-fil-A Rivergate is a major sponsor of our franchise with a large sum of money as well as post-game meals and other events where we feed a lot of people. They've been very generous in their support with us. And in our meetings with them over the course of the last month as we prepare for our upcoming season, we've come up with some promotional items at the park. One specifically being the Chick-fil-A foul poles, and then putting a Chick-fil-A cow somewhere on the outfield fence. And if that cow's hit during the ball game, that Chick-fil-A Rivergate would supply a free chicken sandwich to everybody in attendance at the game. So just some fun activities that we're wanting to do to honor them for their support and thank them as they continue to give abundantly to our franchise. And speaking with Mr. Gilly, having a sign that is left out, not permanently through the summer, just the duration of our season, must be approved by this board. We do have signage that goes up every night that if it's a company logo, we take it down unless we play back-to-back nights at home. We play 6 nights a week for 9 weeks, but we don't have more than 2 nights at home. So I would appreciate not having to climb foul poles and peel a sign off an outfield fence every other night for the next 10 weeks as I have many other duties to think about. But this one exception to the rule or approval to that would be much appreciated.
Mr. Gilly, you want to address any part of that before we have discussion?
I would just say that the way they presented it, I think falls under the sponsorship and advertising guidelines that you all approved a few years ago. And, I think it's probably something that Chick-fil-A would like to have happened a long time ago. That's also, they do this in Gallatin Municipal Park at their, high school baseball field. I think it looks great.
Thank you, sir.
And thank you to Chick-fil-A
Yes, indeed.
and Todd Hunley for what he does for our community.
Yeah.
Even though their business is in Rivergate, he does a whole lot for Hendersonville.
Questions? I have
I'll make
Go
a
ahead.
motion, we approve that.
motion.
Yes.
Have a motion to approve. Ms. Hellman says second. Sorry about that, Mr. Pike. She's pretty new on. More discussion?
They'll shoot me in the pole.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Man, you look like a baseball player. That's what I like about
I'm
you.
a has-been.
I know, but yeah, but look at that hat. Got that hat thing working, man. That's a baseball player right
We're
there.
working on Zaxby's.
Josh, while you're up there,
Yes, sir.
tell them where all the players are coming from this summer.
So we've got players coming from all over the country. They'll report here next Sunday, the 29th, and they'll be placed with a host family of people in our community that will take in this college athlete for the next 8 or 9 weeks as their own son. We've got players coming from some of the top programs in the country, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Auburn, MTSU, Lipscomb, Belmont, Trevecca, Virginia Military Institute, Michigan State, Kennesaw State, Lee, Carson Newman. I know I'm missing a
Tennessee in there.
we do. We have
I want to highlight that. Go ahead.
the best team in college baseball.
The university.
Yeah, that's right. We do have a Tennessee guy coming.
All right, brother. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of pickleball location, Mr. Gilly. Break that pause here. Like that.
Yes, this is exciting times for all the pickleballers, the
Thank you.
picklers, I think they're called, not to be confused with Kelly Pickler. Yes, Dallas, that's a singer. On page, what page is this? Page 26 of your packet is a concept. This is by no means final. Just since this concept was printed, I think it's been shaved down when this project gets put in the Board of Mayor and Alderman budget package. You'll probably likely see 4 tennis courts, expanded parking, not 84 spaces, more around 50 so spaces, and just the infrastructure for lights and not actual lights, I think is what's being proposed at this point. That could change between now and 2 weeks when they vote on their budget. The key to this for you all is to approve pickleball to go in this site behind the tennis courts at Memorial Park. We went through a pretty exhaustive process with Kimley Horn to try to find some places where it might fit. It was basically came down to this site versus the old inline hiking site at Veterans Park. This place seemed to be more of a fit. The USTA last week put out some guidelines, not guidelines, but some suggestions saying that racket sports, while they don't probably need to coexist on the same courts, are good in the same facility. Cons, this eliminates a lacrosse practice field. You just approved young ladies to play tackle football. We have 1 football field. We have very limited grass athletic field space for our grass athletic sports, but we also have a need for pickleball, and we have a need for more parking at Memorial Park, whether you put pickleball courts there or not. A positive of this is leaving behind a space where we can continue to use the grass space that is there. There's room for 2 flag football fields, sorry. The Capital Projects Committee of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen voted unanimously to recommend this to BOMA. You all are free to say and make any recommendation you want to. You don't have to recommend anything. But I do think it is very much part of your purview to take a look at this as we're adding a sport and changing the landscape of a facility.
Not being a pickler or whatever you call the darn things, what is the court made of?
A pickleball court's going to be the same surface as a tennis court.
Okay,
Gonna
so
have-
that would eliminate anything else back there being in that space.
In that current space towards the front of where that field is, yes, sir. You can
So
kind of
that would be
see.
that much space lost. Is that what you're
Correct.
saying? Okay. And again, this is fluid right now, I guess, right?
I mean, it's for 2 weeks or a month. I mean, I would say when and if the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approves this project to go in the budget, then we're going to start down the road to do the project. The first step in that would be to get construction documents made, and then after that, it would go out to bid. I can't tell you who knows what prices are going to come back when we bid it out.
Yeah.
I know what construction documents are going to cost. They're going to cost around $50,000. I know what's proposed to be in the budget for pickleball. Right now, it's around $700,000. After it goes out to bid, after you get construction documents, what the price comes back at, I don't know what that will be. I don't know if we'll have to change the scope of the project, keep it as it is, or just start building it.
And then looking at this, if that were approved and put there, they would use the facilities at the tennis court, right? As far as restrooms and whatnot.
There is a restroom building. If you're looking on the actual site right to the left, there is a restroom building there right by the dog park. It's not it only has one restroom each. If you had a large tournament or something like that with pickleball, we would definitely be using the tennis restroom facility or bringing in extra restrooms.
Okay.
Can you guys talk about current participation in pickleball and what you guys see the demand as?
Well, we've had many calls, many emails. I think the aldermen have gotten calls, the mayor's gotten calls. So we started last fall with pickleball nights on the tennis courts where we set aside the back 4 courts for residents to come and set up nets and put down tape lines. There's been anything there from 5 people to 40 people on certain days and times. That's about where we are. Every time that we put those out, it could be anywhere in that range. You know, I can't tell you. We don't. The citizens are doing it right now, so we don't have like a registration system where we know if it's different people, the same people, where they're from. We just know that that's kind of the head count we're at. We are going to be going out over the next couple weeks since the weather's getting better and kind of observing on every time that we have pickleball nights in June coming up. So hope that answered your question.
Yep. In your opinion, if we build it, they will come?
I mean, that's what everybody says. I would say nearly every city around us is either has built them or is building them. Even Gallatin, Mount Juliet, Goodlettsville, everybody's either got them or they're about to get them.
Mr. Bowler, I will tell you, one second, Mike. I will tell you that in Mount Juliet at Providence, they have a facility there that looks professional. And it is full all the time. So if that gives you any help on that. Mr. Pike?
Yeah, Andy, this is a question for you. In losing that practice field for lacrosse, and I know they're playing games and we're trying to transition them to another place, can those flag football fields be used, a dual use, as a practice facility for lacrosse at certain times?
I mean, obviously it's not a full-size field. They could do some things as far as conditioning and drills and such. I think the majority of their activity would be moved out to Volunteer Park. We did receive the grant for the LPRF grant for a turf field inside Drakes Creek that is scheduled to be built big enough to play lacrosse on. So that will be helpful to them. Basically, though, they're going to be nomads instead of having a field they go to every day, if that makes sense. When it comes to lacrosse. Dallas, you can add to that if you want to.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're going to get as creative as possible with the field space that we have available to us to fit lacrosse, flag football, tackle football, girls football, all those different groups
Rugby.
that need space, and losing this field definitely hurts. I do think it will help across a little bit that they'll be going to a field with lights. It's just going to have to be a little more creative in how we fit everything together. So,
Well, which is where we've been trying to transition it anyways, so, all right.
No questions? Mr. Hess? Yes, sir.
Allow me to speak?
Beg pardon?
Will you allow me to speak?
No.
Okay,
So, yes, sir, Mr. Brown, go ahead. sir.
thank you. Just a couple things, as one of the aldermen who will or will not vote on this, and being on the Capital Projects Committee, we had long and hard discussion of what size especially. We had the same discussion y'all are having here of, is this popular sport? You know, is that, we'll build it and they will come? You know, I'm not a pickler either, but, you know, I understand people like sports that I don't like. So, that being said, looking at the cost, we made a recommendation coming out of capital projects that this be half size from what it was originally proposed. I think what would be very helpful to the board in the next 2 weeks is for a recommendation that you all want to move forward with this as a Parks Board, or you want to put it on hold, one of the two. That would give us an indication of how you feel about, I'll say the park professionals, because all of you have either been in the parks, playing in the parks, coaching in the parks, or working in the parks for Lord knows how long. So, you know, taking away from the cross and adding pickleball, and that's, we just need a recommendation, I think, from you guys, either in the affirmative or not affirmative, or what you want to do. Okay. We cut it down to half size simply because of cost and half size. Thanks.
And I don't think pickleball is going away. It's not going to go away, in my opinion. Any more discussion? Yes, sir, Ms. Gold.
You mentioned that lighting may or may not be a part of that. As it stands right now, it is or it is not. It would not.
As it stands right now, the proposal would be to put the infrastructure in to come back in the future and add lights. So
Technically, all we're doing is just getting okay in the space. I mean,
that's all you're saying. You would recommend or not recommend that it go in this space. You can, the budget and how much is approved for the project is not in your category. Personally, do I think it needs lights? I think it needs lights. I think that whole space needs lights if we're going to be able to utilize it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there'll be a great deal of pickle played at night, I think. So
I mean, I think again, in terms of our role in identifying use of parks, that this would make, to me, if it's going to be anywhere, you know, obviously, you know, there's longer discussions on how big it is and maybe when it goes in, whether it's, you know, in the next budget cycle, a year after, whatever those conversations may have it. If it's going to go somewhere, this would make the most sense for it to be, provided there's nothing wrong with using the tennis courts right now as overflow should you need it. If you're going to go half size and you wanted to host a real tournament, there's no real way you could do that unless you were able to continue to use the tennis courts as overflow. You had mentioned, Andy, that the USTA had said they don't necessarily recommend using the same courts, or is it perfectly fine to use the same courts as a tennis courts and pickleball?
Putting down permanent mixed lines is not acceptable. I don't know that you would get any tournament that would come in and play on taped lines. And it is apparent to everyone that the two do not commingle very nicely together. Just put it nicely.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
I would like to. So this footprint right here, I would look at and say it is probably the best spot for it. The pickleball courts don't look like they're as large as the parking lot or the flag football areas. Flag football is in definite need of green space. And Andy, you may want to comment on this as in looking at future space. What other outside of getting a wish list for every league, flag football I know is one. What other spots are we in desperate need of to fill for space, for a field?
I mean, flag football has grown 3 times in the last year, up to over 650 participants from 200. Brian, you correct me if I'm wrong about that, and that's in a year and a half's time. And we have one dedicated football field.
Yeah.
They've been playing out at Volunteer Park, which is used now for soccer, for rugby conditioning, for lacrosse, for flag football, and for any other thing that we need to throw out there. So it's definitely becoming quickly a need and not a desire to have some sort of other complex opened up. If we're going to continue to try to have nice fields and everybody wants to say, I want the nicest grass and the nicest turf to play on. Well, but I also want to play all year, or I want to pack it in everywhere. If we're going to continue to do that, we've got to address how do we open up another complex of some sort that will allow us to move people around, give things rest, give people practice times. I mean, right now, flag football, you may or may not get to practice. And I can't imagine if I was playing baseball, for example, or let's take basketball, for example. Unless it snows, you're going to practice once a week. Flag football, baseball, softball, soccer, you may not practice once a week. You may go a month without practicing because if you get rained out, your practice gets canceled and you go play a game. And that's not only due to lack of space, but it's due to conditions of fields at times too. So we are at these guys here and the leagues are doing the best they can to, and I say leagues, I mean soccer, rugby, lacrosse, flag football, tackle football. They are all working together to do the best they can to maximize the time and the space available. I don't know if that answered your question, but without getting on my soapbox.
I think it does. The only other thing I would say and ask, and it might be for you, it might be for Brian since he's here, those 2 flag football fields that are proposed, would they be practice? Will they be games? How would you all above? Okay, so I would say it now, is there a concession stand close to that?
No.
Okay. All right. I would say there needs to be one on the plans down the road for that spot. And more parking in that area would be wise. And lights. It's a wish list, sorry.
Years and years ago, when I was doing
Thank you.
the Hendersonville Youth Baseball League, even back then, it was so hard to get a place to practice. So that's been an evil since day one. So I appreciate what y'all do as far as divvying time out. While we are a huge parks department, we still are under restraints for as far as space goes. So I think I'm with Mr. Bennett here. I think it's a great deal to put this in because it ain't going nowhere. But wish we could find some more open areas, but can't do that. So, all right. Any more questions? Yes.
On the way home from work the other day, it takes me a little while to get home. For 45 minutes on the biggest sports radio talk show in the afternoon, they were talking about pickleball.
Yep.
I haven't a clue what it is. I need to study it, but apparently it's huge. So if we have the space, we can make it work, we definitely need to.
And they are rabid about it.
Yes, sir.
It's not like it's
Yes,
just a little kiddie sport. Man,
Yes, sir.
they're tough. Me and Andy have already talked about that, so. Question?
So what's the likelihood of having tournaments down the road and all that? Real possibility. I mean, the whole purpose of building the inline hockey ring and putting the roof over the inline hockey ring is coming to fruition with tournaments. I mean, already had a couple. We've got one this weekend. I think we got one June 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and more on the way. You know, so if we, as a city, invest in this, is it going to come back to us?
I would say without lights, no. With lights, we've been told that we will have tournaments. I don't know if 4 courts does it. I don't know if it's 8. I don't know what it is, but I think I would guess that there will be tournaments. Yes.
Not too far off. We're gonna be practicing each other's backyards or something, I'm telling you. Any more questions? If you're satisfied with a motion to approve this space for pickleball, I will accept a motion now. Mr. Golden?
I would like to add to that motion, though, if we're going to make a motion to approve this to BOMA, that if we're going to do this, then they need to invest the money in putting lights in it and do it right the first time and not do it. You know, Mr. Bennett brought up the concession stand. We brought up the facility for restrooms. I understand that's money and that's budget, but, you know, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right or don't do it.
Mr. Golden, do you choose to add that addendum to that, or you want to keep yours the way it is?
I don't have an issue with that. I do think you need to start somewhere. So, you know, I don't necessarily want to say that that's a must, but I mean, I agree with you. I think the city needs this. It diversifies what we offer, et cetera. So I'm okay with that. You know, I'd be okay even if it was just 4 without the lights. But
And that is your motion, so we'll leave it at that. I need a second. Do I have a second? Okay. Then you will go before the board. We haven't voted on it yet.
Unless somebody else wants to make a different motion.
Just,
I'll make one.
okay, go ahead.
I'm fine with the full layout the way it is, but with definitely the flag football fields to be constructed and lights. That's the way it needs to be.
I'm gonna delete your motion, Mr. Golden, and I'm gonna,
That's
take
fine.
this motion
I
here.
can withdraw that.
Okay, I've got a motion, Mr. Bennett. Any more discussion, second?
How's the motion worded, Mr. Bennett?
That we would look at putting it in this space, where it's presented in the full 8 courts, as well as the flag football fields and lights. Yes, sir. On all the fields, not just pickleball.
Okay, I've got Mr. Bennett's first and Mr. Pike is second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It ain't going nowhere, I can tell you that.
No, it's coming.
I just hope we don't have any knockdown dragouts beyond.
We'll be all right.
A review of parks budget, no, exit 7 digital sign administrative policy, Mr. Gilly.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not really for a vote. This is kind of an FYI. Administrative policies are things that the mayor and the COO can kind of change as needed or add to as needed. At some point down the road, if we need to have something in the form of an ordinance or a vote by you all, we will. But thanks to Mr. Brown, I think we're about 3 years out now. We've been waiting to get this project funded. The lodging tax that was collected 2 or 3 years ago, I can't remember, helped pay for this project for the digital sign at exit 7. You all have driven by and seen banners hanging on fences and banners hanging on our sign. Hopefully within the next couple weeks, the electricity's been done, the concrete has been cut. We're just waiting on the delivery and installation of this sign to go up at exit 7. And we wanted to have some guidelines in place so that our staff or whoever takes over the scheduling of what goes on this sign would have to go by. This will be an administrative policy for now. I just wanted you all to be aware of it. If you have any questions or if you have anything that you feel needs to be added, basically what we've come to is this. Events that are taking place on city property. For example, our own leagues needing to advertise signups, us needing to advertise events. If the chamber is doing a Freedom Festival or Sumner Fest on city property, that would get space on the sign. Activities specific to organizations that use city property, we just kind of mentioned leagues. Events conducted by nonprofits that are supported by the city, that becomes important for things like Rock Castle. We've been putting their banner up on there for a long time when they have songwriter nights or the citywide egg hunt. But the city also supports Rock Castle financially as a partner. So we felt that would be something that needed to continue. The Senior Center, for example, has a fundraiser called the Main Street Front Porch Fest. That's always had a banner go up. So we thought those are things, if the city's supporting that, then we should offer it space. And then also Code Red alerts. That's a no-brainer, really. At this time, there's no desire by the mayor or staff to start renting out space, charging for space. We just kind of want to get these guidelines in, see how things go, and then if we need to come back and put actual ordinances together and how things work, we can do that. If you all have any suggestions or anything like that, I'm happy to take those back to the mayor and the COO. That's it.
Since Mr. Brown's here, I'm gonna bring up what I did in closed doors about a new sign for Saunders Ferry Park. Just wanna put that little deal in there. For the rest of you guys, when you go down Saunders Ferry Road, that is Saunders Ferry Road, and you get to Saunders Ferry Park, it looks like a sign this big that goes, "This might be the park." I'm not sure. It's my opinion that we need a fitting sign, and Mr. Gillies and Mr. Brown both already brought it up that it would have to pass core approval, but I'd sure like to get that moving somewhere along the way. So anyway, that's just public service announcement. Okay.
One quick, Andy, just to bring up the issue, or not the issue, just the suggestion of potentially adding Amber Alerts perhaps to that.
I will make that suggestion. I think that would probably be actually what was intended, but I will make sure Code Red and Amber Alerts.
Any other questions of that? Thank you.
As much as I've loved creating and developing those over the last 2.5 years, I really, it's just helped from a marketing standpoint. When people have to submit this, it'll help everybody look a little bit more uniform on what they look like. I think that when we make really nice ones, and then maybe somebody else doesn't have maybe the Photoshop or graphic design skills, I don't want them to feel like they're lacking because they can't do the same design as other people. So when you have these guidelines and when you have these in place, it allows a little bit more of a, not an equal playing field, but at least nobody feels like they're lesser than the other group.
No question? Thank you, sir. Review of parks budget, Mr. Gilly.
Okay.
Page 20, 28, 29, 30, 31 in your packet.
Yep.
You will see the proposed FY23 budget. As of this time, it will go to the Finance Committee tomorrow night, and then BOMA will vote in a couple of weeks. There's been workshops, meetings. But a budget is kind of a team game. I would just say did we get everything we asked for? No. Did we get enough to get started in the year? Yes. Do I think they'll have to make adjustments in the mid-year like we did this year? Probably so. The prices are out of control when it comes to gasoline, supplies. Supplies is one of the biggest ones. That feels like every day I sign a check for $1,000, not sign a check, but sign a request for a check for around $1,000 for restroom supplies. It's crazy. In here includes at this time, 6 cost of living increase for employees, for full-time employees. I have submitted a request to have our employees like the summer camp workers and tennis workers and gym supervisors they're on a different schedule. It's called the C schedule. I've sent in a request to have them looked at to have an increase as well. We'll see how that goes. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them. You can see on here on page 29, we still do not have the inmate crews. That is critical because that basically costs us 4 to 6 employees every week that we used to have. We did gain 2 a couple years ago, full-time ones. This does not include any increased maintenance workers. When it comes to projects, page 30, 31, actually, you'll see a couple of new projects for next year. You'll see the grant for rugby lights and turf soccer field was funded. There will be an upgrade to the soccer concession stand. That's a partnership with the Hendersonville Soccer Club. An upgrade to the volunteer park concession stand, partnership with Civitan to add a hood where they can grill hamburgers out there. Right now, they're having to bring hamburgers and hot dogs from other places. That's not necessarily good. There's a project on there to put a irrigation filter in the soccer irrigation that will help hopefully keep our irrigation more functional. You will see $690,000 proposed for pickleball construction, $15,000 to continue to add security cameras to the parks. The one thing I would add, and I'll just say it, as far as when you combine our operating expenses and assets, we're at 1.072 million. Last year, we were at 1.035. So we've increased a little bit over last year. 2 years ago, we were at 1.129. So we're still not, when you combine operating expenses and assets, we're still not at the level we were 2 years ago. And we have added rugby, we've added tremendous amount of activity at the volunteer park with inline hockey and flag football moving out there. So, like I said, do I think we can get started? Yes, and I appreciate all the work of the mayor and the COO putting this together and our staff. Do I think that as the year goes on and the economy does what it does, that we're going to have to make adjustments? Yes, I do. I mean, that's where I'm at.
That's something that.
And your task as one of the tasks of the Parks Board is to make recommendations on the budget. And the projects we're getting in there, I think they're great. I think we've got to be mindful of our maintenance worker count and the hours of labor and the expectations that we all have as a city for things to look the way they do and run the way they do and operate the way they do. I just think we've got to be cognizant of that as we go forward, because the hard times for the budget may be coming, not this year, but it may be the next year or the year after when we see some things really have to tighten up. And I really think we've got to all that go. It's probably across the board in all city departments. So that's my budget speech, and you all can ask questions or whatever you need.
Yeah, Andy, question about on the operational expenses, the maintenance, I guess that'd be line 764, 776. Those increases, does that expand our maintenance capabilities, or is that just to keep current, just to keep us where we're at?
That is based on estimated spends for the last 2 years, and I would say it probably is not going to cover everything. I mean, everything's getting older. It's costing more and more to do anything. And in terms of maintenance of buildings, maintenance of equipment, maintenance of vehicles, and maintenance of parks, it's without question costing more to just keep up. You know, that's basically is those numbers for this request are status quo, in my opinion. Even though they're an increase over last year,
They're not.
it's status quo.
I had a wise man one time that was in office that told me that there's just so much money to go around, and that you had to be diligent as far as what. And as you know, I have always been a huge advocate of the monetary impact that our parks brings to the city. I'm certainly not trying to delete anybody, because everybody's got their own cause, and everybody feels probably as strongly about their cause. But I would challenge the board to look at the impact, and I know that they have, but to look at the impact that the tournaments we have and the money spent here. So I can see Andy's point. You know, the lawnmowers don't stay new, and the grass needs cutting whether you got 6 men or 4. And I appreciate Andy and the staff, the way they do things and getting that done. So that's my 2 cents worth. Anybody else got anything to say? Sorry it took that long. All right, thank you, Mr. Gilly.
And we need a motion to recommend or not recommend, or
Oh, okay. All right, motion to recommend this budget as it is now.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Bowler is first. Mr. Head second. Hey, he's way down there. That's good. I like that. Ms. Head second. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? All right, unanimous. Thank you. Discussion of soccer field use. Mr. Gilly.
Before we do that, we have a vacancy on our athletic committee now that Mr. Frank has left us. So we probably need to vote to either let someone move to that committee that might want to, or add Ms. Hellman to that athletic committee.
Does Ms. Heller have any functions right this moment?
She's without a function.
I suspect she probably is now. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. I am the chairman of the Parks Board because I missed a meeting. So don't ever miss a meeting. I'm telling you, there's always to it. And you will make that change, will you not, sir? Thank you, Miss Helen. I'm assuming that's okay. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sir? That's fine. That sounds good. That sounds legal. Information, special events list.
No, now I need to go to discussion of the soccer field use.
Say again?
Now I need to discuss
Oh,
the
I
soccer
thought
field
I thought
use.
that's what you were doing. All right, go ahead.
We have been in meetings with the mayor and the COO and both soccer clubs for many hours over the last couple of months, trying to address the best practices, use, how to make the soccer fields the best they could. The board, mayor, and alderman during the mid-year budget addressed that a little bit by approving for us to buy a new mower. We've tried to come up with many different options. We obviously want the best facility. In our last meeting, the mayor asked if we could get together the athletic committee and the maintenance committee of the Parks Board and have a little meeting to talk about some things that they might recommend for the fall. No need for me to really say those now. We'll talk about them in that little subcommittee meeting, but just to kind of let both those committees know, we'll probably call a meeting of those committees and make a recommendation to this Parks Board and let you all see what you want to do with it for some things that people might have in mind. We obviously want the best facilities we can. It's a tough balance when you want to tell people they can't use something. Because if I'm a coach and a player comes up to me and says, how do I get to play more? What's the first thing I tell them? We'll go practice. And it's hard to practice if you can't get on the fields at certain times. So we understand that too. We just want to have the best facilities we can. So there's nothing to vote on. I just wanted you all to know that was coming, and we'll be in touch to schedule a kind of a dual committee meeting.
Which two committees was that, sir?
I believe athletic probably and maintenance.
Yes, sir. No problem. You're on board right quick, aren't you, Miss Hill?
Welcome to the committee.
That a girl. All right, unfortunately, we're moving down to special events list. You can check that out. If there's any questions, I'm sure that somebody down that way can answer them. Unfortunately, we're looking at disciplinary reports. I hate it when those come up, but I guess that's cost of living. And then the site map for Music City Sevens. Does anyone have any questions on those particular three items? I'll pull the rug out quick. Thank you very much. All right. Staff reports, Ms. Hamlin, Recreation Committee.
Thank you. My Raptors special needs baseball season has ended, and we have moved on to the kickball league. We started with kickball this past weekend. The games were on Friday evenings and Saturday mornings. We are going to cancel this next weekend because of the holiday weekend. Fishing rodeo is Friday evening, June 10th. That is free. I think that starts at 5 o'clock, Wade. 5 o'clock on that Friday. Kids Club Special Needs Program, I've been taking registrations. The camp runs from June 13th to July 22nd. It will be held at Merrill Hyde Magnet School. People are asking me if I have openings. I will encourage people who are interested to call in if they're interested and get their name on the waiting list, because I do know that there is a possibility that I may have some openings coming up because people's schedules have changed and they may not be able to attend. Cost is $350 for 6 weeks. Campers bring their lunch and drinks daily, and their hours are 8:30 to 1:30. I am still seeking a few more part-time workers for the Kids Club program. It runs to 6 weeks, and the hours for the workers are about 8 to 2 daily. As Andy mentioned, with the cost of living raise, it's really hard to get people to want to apply for a job when you're making $8 an hour right now. You know, you just can't find people who want to work. The ones that are wanting to work want to work with the special needs kids. So if you don't have that true desire to be with the special needs kids, I'm going to struggle getting enough workers to have enough people to cover the camp. They can come by the Parks Department and pick up an application, and they can reach out to me at chamlin@hfieldtn.org. We will begin moving things to Merrill Hyde for the summer program once I get with Darren and get the clear to do so. And then we'll get the camp location set up. Merrill Hyde is hosting a really important conference this summer. So Darren and I have talked about there's going to be some dates that we're either going to have to move to the park and hang out at the park the entire day. If it's raining, we may have to cancel because these conferences that he's hosting are very important to his school. And we are at the beckoning call of being able to use the school. And right now with Summer Scholars going on, every school just about is being used for Summer Scholars. So we're just doing the best we can. But we're just gracious that we have a location to use. And, so there may be a few days we have to tell parents, sorry, we're closing for these 2 days because we just don't really have a place to go at this time. That's about it. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Recreation Coordinator, I ain't calling you Oriole. Mr. Fugit.
Summer adult basketball has started this past Thursday. 5U and 6U T-ball and quickball has started this past Saturday. Fall baseball signups start in 7 days, which is May 30th, the next Monday. And then a fall adult kickball signups start June 13th. That is it.
Well done, sir. Special Events Supervisor, Mr. Evans.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, coming out to Stars Ferry Park tomorrow night.
That's part of a meeting I've never heard before.
It's a great song. I played at every wedding I DJ. No, for real, we do have some really great stuff coming up. I know tomorrow night is our concert with Dom and Rio. Tickets are still on sale. Weather's gonna be nice. We've already been down there, so like like I said, should be a really good time. Gates open at 5:15. Just kind of depends on a couple things, but the show will actually start at 6. It'll be over by 9:30, 9:45. So we got food trucks, lots of different options. Beverages will be on site as well. Really, like I said, it's just should be a really good time. Good weather. This weekend's a little bit crazy too because we have Game 7. We have baseball. We have softball, USSSA. We have Blue Otter with their fishing tournament. It's going on Saturday and Sunday, and with a $10,000 prize for the winner of that. And then Monday we have the Memorial 5K and 10K and 1 mile fun run that supports this Crisis Pregnancy Center, and the Isaacs concert on Monday as well. So that'll be at Veterans Park. Music will start at 3 p.m. Gates will be open at 1:30. That is a free event for the community. So that will be on Monday. And then, anything else? Yeah. Fishing rodeo, like she did say, it's our special needs friends will be on the Friday night. General public will be 7:30 in the morning to 11 a.m. the next day on the 11th. TWRA has been really good about stocking. They actually just stocked the pond, and they've sent over a bunch of stuff to give away to our fishers this year. And thank you to Morris Orthodontics for providing the shirts this year. Besides that, I mean, I'm really excited. This is like the fun part. Everything's gonna be a little crazy, but just know that we're working hard on all these things behind the scenes to provide a good opportunity. I think as we look at some of this, is the only thing I have to say is that I think it's cool to look at some of our event space in different ways than what it was previously. I mean, the fact that we're doing concerts, Saunders Ferry is great. Not all fields have to be named something. I think they can always be athletic fields because you never know what we can use them for. So I think we always have to be open to other ideas and ways to utilize our space. So that's it. Let's have a good time tomorrow night.
You know, you've set a new precedence down there. Not only did we get a report, we got the entertainment. So we'll have to be doing that every time now. Questions? Thank you, sir. Parks Maintenance Supervisor, Mr. Gannott.
Good evening, everyone. Maintenance staff has been holding at approximately 40 work orders a week average. I think we broke the 1,000 mark since we started in August. I think we're somewhere around 1,050 work orders. So I like to point that out now that we have access to that to track all that. It's a very handy tool. Fertilizer was applied last week. We've started core aerifying athletic fields as some of these spring seasons are ending. So don't be surprised if you see a bunch of little plugs on all the fields. It's nothing bad. It's good. It helps promote growth. So you'll see that going on. Hopefully we'll be putting some sod in some areas. We're working right now at securing to do about 21,000 square feet back at the soccer complex, all the open goal mouths. And so it's going to be a big project. We have to use outside sources for that. So we're working on securing all that right now. Maintenance staff was trained today by Sports Turf Solutions on synthetic turf repairs. We've got a lot of issues on our mound and different things with our synthetic turf as it gets older. And now that we're looking at having more synthetic turf in the park, this will kind of be the next thing. So we had them come in to do a repair today at Field 3, and it was Andy's idea. He thought it'd be a good idea to send some guys down there, and we did that. I think it was time well spent today, and we actually, in the process of looking at it, we came up with an idea on our behalf that I think will make it better for us, something they just hadn't thought about. So that was interesting to kind of get involved in that and give our opinion on something, and they jumped on it. They thought it was a good idea, so that was nice. As you can tell from Wade's list, maintenance staff will be very busy. We'll have guys switching over from tournament grounds crew to concert event staff tomorrow night. So hopefully we'll see some of y'all out there. Go Diamond Rio.
Yeah, Futch is actually doing a karaoke set before Diamond Rio.
Can't know no better than that. Any questions? All right. Assistant Director, Mr. Long.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All of our youth athletic leagues on our grass fields are now finished for the spring season. Tennessee United still has a few teams out practicing that have qualified for some national tournaments this summer. So we wish them luck wherever they're going. The adult soccer league, we still have about 2 weeks remaining for their season, and then they'll be done. Tennessee United had their youth or I'm sorry, their younger kids tryouts last week. Next week they'll have their older kids tryouts. And then we'll flip the fields around for the lacrosse tournament, which we're excited to have back this year after a couple years off of the COVID. We're lucky to have probably one of the biggest lacrosse tournaments in the state come to Hendersonville, so we're looking forward to having them back. And then the week after that, we'll flip fields again for the 3v3 soccer tournament that benefits Hendersonville High School. And then after that, we will shut down the soccer fields for about 6 weeks to do some repairs and add some sod in some areas that need it in the goal mouse. Let's see. I want to congratulate our lacrosse club, the middle school team, state champions, which is the first time in the history of our club to go to state championship and win it. So congrats to them. Football, tackle football registrations ongoing, as well as cheerleading registrations. They started that back up this year, and they've partnered with Cheerville. And then they'll begin practicing in July. And then also 17 is hosting the free community conditioning, which will begin in June. So a lot going on this summer.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Assistant Director, Mr. Bruce.
Thank you, Mr. Hessen. The Fast Pitch League is finishing up this week. They have the 18s and 12s have their tournament starting tonight and finish up Thursday night. Hockey finished up, as Mr. Randy said, Saturday with their tournament. They do have that was the league tournament. There is the Southeast Wars hockey tournament will be this coming weekend. And Jimmy, I will get you a schedule tomorrow for the concessions on that part of it. Senior men's ongoing. Bubba's still hitting about 800 from my understanding. And that end of it. The box lacrosse, they practiced some in April, didn't do much in May. They are scheduled basically every weekend starting in June, coming back to practice. Not in games yet, but they will be practicing in June. Had a big weekend with the TMSAA, the Tennessee Middle School State Tournament. That's a big feather in our cap for hosting the softball and baseball. I think this was the second year it's ever happened, and we've hosted both years and going to do it again next year. So compliment to the maintenance staff. We had some big rain issues, as you know, Saturday night, and they did a great job getting that ready for Sunday. Got rained out Saturday night. It's supposed to finish Saturday, and had to come back on Sunday and did a great job getting that ready. Civitan Baseball is in the process of doing all-star games, and then they'll be selecting teams to go play in all-star tournaments. The all-star game was just a local thing here. So they are in the process of selecting that, and we'll start practicing hopefully the next couple of weeks, getting those guys ready. A couple other things of notice on the baseball and softball. Hendersonville High School played Friday night and the sub-state game and won that. So Hendersonville High School baseball will be playing in the state tournament tomorrow night. So Mr. Andy will be coaching there in that fantastic. Also good to see Coach Hendricks get to go to the state tournament in his last year. So that's really positive. Beach softball made it to the sub-state game and got beat Friday night, but they did make it to the sub-state. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Parks Director, Mr. Gilly.
Also, we had Hendersonville High School tennis advance to the state tournament for the first time in over 20 years. And the Hendersonville High School soccer team made it to the sub-state. So all those groups use our parks as their home field, their home facility. It's good to see them do well. I might have stole Mr. Bowler's thunder. He's usually really good at recognizing the high school athletes, but echo what Keith said. Our maintenance staff did a tremendous job to get the state tournament done this weekend with the rain on Saturday. They do, they saved the city a lot of money. What Jeremy talked about today was accurate. The way they come up with projects that are able to be done in-house and not contracted out saves a ton of money to the city, and appreciate them. And our entire office staff these last couple of weeks have been a little crazy, and the next 3 to 4 weeks will be even more crazy. So appreciate them and all they do to keep things coordinated and together. Everyone's doing a good job, and I thank everyone for that. That is my report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Questions? Okay, Ms. Hellman, we have a thing called round table where you can say just about anything you want to. It doesn't have cuss words in it. So, if you have anything to add, welcome to the board. We appreciate you taking your time doing this, and we look forward to you being on and on and on. All right, anything to say? Good job by you, Mr. Ted.
Jeremy, thanks for your guys this weekend. They were a big help moving stuff around. We were a little short on water in some certain stands, but your guys got a truck and went and got it where we needed it. So I appreciate the help there. Wade, you set a new standard. I think everybody should have a theme song when we start to speak now.
I do too, yeah.
Okay. And welcome, Miss Hellman.
New presidents, man.
I'll bring my turntables next time.
Need some oldies if you don't mind, if you could do that. So, thank you, Mr. Bowler.
Would also like to echo welcome and congratulations. I spoke with a couple of the administrators of the participants in the middle school state tournament, and they were super complimentary of the facility and the hospitality. So,
Thank you, Mr. Pike.
I'll just echo what Andy said. Thanks so much I'm so proud of our staff. We're very lucky to have the staff we have, both maintenance and office staff, and I am thankful every day that we have y'all to help us grow this park and keep it growing. And welcome to the board, Ms. Hamilton.
Mr. Perry.
Welcome to the board.
Mr. Golden.
Same. Welcome to the board.
Mr. Bennett.
I'll finish. Welcome to the board and go Commandos. That hurts me to say something.
Mr. Brown, would you like to give us some of your wisdom, sir?
Commandos, and I hope the pitching coach does a really good job.
All right, the new section of our Parks Board meeting is going to be Ken's Joke of the Week. Guy came up to my car, pecked on the one and said, can you give me a couple of dollars for a sandwich? I said, I don't know. Let me see the sandwich. All right, I need a motion to
Motion approved now.
He hit me. He hit me with his shoe. So
One
motion
one
to
last
adjourn.
thing. 22 cameras in Drakes Creek. I counted after he asked me that.
Good job. Good job. Motion to adjourn. Ms. Bennett, second. Ms. Heller, since she done that.